Hey, Curtis.
Hey, Oz.
You got a movie for us this week?
I do. This week's movie marriage, we've got The Other Sister meets Cedar Rapids,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of Roadhouse, all taking place at Big Mama's house. This week, we're watching What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Yep.
That's fair though. It's
It,
not. You're not wrong.
yeah. I really debated whether or not to use that as the punchline.
Well, it.
Uh, but it is more, I think of it more literally.
Yeah, it definitely
Yes.
encapsulates what's going on in
Yes,
this
as
film.
I can feel my face getting red right now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Well, like I said, when Patreon subscriber Melissa L had texted me, I was bouncing my ideas, and Monster House was one that I gave her
Mhm.
as the large woman who passed
Uh-huh.
away in her home, and then her soul overtook the house.
Yep.
So maybe
Yeah.
maybe the end of this movie was a precursor of we have to do this or else we'll end up with a monster house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a lot of irony, I think, in
Yeah.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and you even see Gilbert struggling with his mom's condition, and
Yes.
I so like again I hesitate. I feel like I have to explain and justify my punchline here.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think you do, but
but
go
yeah,
for it.
again, it's literal. We see the characters tossing and turning over it as well, and
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Well,
They don't shy away from the fact that she's a very large woman.
no. And I honestly, I thought the movie handled it well enough. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you
it did.
know, there she had defenders, even if they were conflicted defenders, but she had them. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's the movie is all about, well, at least with her part, it's all about dignity. Right?
yes.
Like
Yeah.
she deserves dignity.
Right.
It's we'll get to it all as we
Yeah.
go, but yeah.
So, welcome back, listeners, viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where we take a monthly theme. This month, we're doing questionable films, and this week, like you said, we're watching What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I am the other host, Curtis.
And we want to give a shout out to our amazing Patreon subscribers, Don S., Aaron A., Mandy K., Melissa L., Colin K., and Lyle M. Thank you guys, one and all, for your continued patronage.
I will say, and you dropped her name before, but and she wanted me to say this. Patreon subscriber Melissa L. did help me come up with the punchline. That is not a bus toss. That is me giving kudos where kudos is due.
That's fair. That's fair. So,
she's even like she's like, put it on me. Like,
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm the one who's saying it, but yeah.
Yeah. No, like I said, I had my own little like we do kind of have a movie marriage in place.
Yeah, it's just how we do things. Yeah.
I didn't have a full filled out one, but I had talking heads in my movie marriage for burning down the house. And what is the other one I told you I had of pre-show? It doesn't matter, but
oh god, oh, I'm blanking right now. My apologies.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. But Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because of the small town feel.
Yeah,
I had a kind of a similar vein. I had Big Fish.
Yeah.
As a possibility as well. Again, small town, these kind of like tall tales, and I also, just again stating the obvious, I had The Whale as a possibility. Similar themes, similar vibes. Step Brothers was another one that I considered. John C. Reilly and Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah, all good, solid options. But I like your movie marriage, and I don't think you have to defend it. I think What's Eating Gilbert Grape is a better movie than Big Mama's House.
I would say so.
Oddly, though, coming from the same director, Lasse Hallström.
Yes, Lasse Hallström is known for his collaborations with Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. He's kind of got a two-prong career going.
Yeah,
there.
he actually was the series creator of the show Martin. Little known fact.
Yeah, he was the inspiration for Shanae.
He was.
That's what they called Lasse Hallström on set, was Shanae.
Yes. Growing up in, I think, Sweden, where Lasse Hallström, or Sweden or Norway, yeah, he was known locally as Shanae.
Well, it's Swedish for Martin Lawrence.
It is. Yeah. Hey, Shanae's on. Oh, Martin? Yeah.
Well, it's only fair. You figure Martin Lawrence has a flourishing, comedy career, but he also has that, that chain of art galleries across all um, all like touristy places.
He does. Yep.
So
They're everywhere.
Yep. He's very diverse in his portfolio. So that's what Martin Lawrence is known for.
Yep.
Diversity.
I gotta go see Bad Boys with Will Smith and Lasse Hallstrom.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, right. Well, what's Eating Gilbert Grape? Week 3 of our questionable movies. We are going to come. We are going to find a solution. We are going to come to a conclusion of what is a movie.
Yeah. What is questionable movies? Where the title asks you a question.
Yes. By the end of this month, I think we will culminate with a true answer to that question. Is this a movie?
Is this a film?
Yeah. So next week's, I think, let's stay tuned because we will reveal that. But next week's selection will be the pinnacle of, is this a movie?
I think next week's selection is the pinnacle of cinema.
It very, very, very may well be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So stick around for the big reveal at the end of this episode.
Asking far more questions than providing answers.
There's a lot of questions about next week's movie.
Yeah. Very, just very Bergman-esque.
Yes.
Get you thinking.
A lot of chess on the beach.
Get your thinking cap on, because it's time to answer questions.
But before we get to that,
let me give you the
pinnacle of cinema.
Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, let's talk about Gilbert Grape.
Yeah, it's a tight little cast. It takes place in a town of varying population sizes.
Yeah. So, sometimes there's 50 people, sometimes there's 50,000 people.
Yeah, it's like there's enough service for 2 grocery stores and a high school band, but at the same time there's like no restaurant in sight.
Yeah, there's diner.
There's a cop. Like it's Iowa. Like, what do you expect? Our titular Gilbert Grape, played by a early in his career, Johnny Depp. I won't say a young Johnny Depp because he was 30 when they made this movie. But yeah, Johnny Depp is Gilbert Grape, the fill-in man of the house, if you will.
Yep.
And he struggles with being man of the house because he's yet to decide what he himself is going to be doing. So
what does Gilbert want? It's kind of the through line.
Yeah, like what's eating him?
Yeah. I wish they would just be more obvious about it.
I would have loved to watch a movie that was called What's Gilbert Grape Eating?
It's a cooking show.
But that was a prequel to this movie called What's Bonnie Grape Eating? Or what was the mom's name? Was mom Bonnie?
Bonnie, yes.
So Gilbert has a family. They're all sisters and brother and his mom. But really the breakout star of this film is a young Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, yeah. Post growing pains, Leo DiCaprio.
19-year-old Leo DiCaprio playing Arnie Grape, the challenged young man of not only town but the family, but also just himself. And so there's a lot of kudos to his performance in this one. Oscar nominated for supporting actor.
Yeah.
And so, but it's if you decide to tiptoe into this movie, it's for that performance.
Yeah, they never say what his diagnosis is.
Right.
I think we're looking at the obvious one is autism. I think there's a comorbidity with a developmental disability as well, because he's pretty low functioning.
And Munchausen by proxy. No.
Yeah.
No, okay. Just because.
Yeah, why not?
Because of the grasshopper.
Yeah, because of the grasshopper, yeah. But yeah, so I think it's kind of 2/3 autism, 1/3 like an intellectual developmenal disability, just because he is pretty low functioning.
Yeah. And they make it very clear he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
So those are our 2 pretty much men of the story. We also have the rest of the Grape family, the rest of the bunch, if you will.
The bunch of grapes.
Exactly. Darlene Cates playing Mama Bonnie Grape, and then
great performance from her too.
Excellent. Like film debut. Like it really was a great performance. And then his not Gilbert's older sister, but the older of the two sisters. Amy Grape, played by Laura Harrington, and then his young 15-year-old sister / nemesis, Ellen, played by Mary Kay Shilhart. That's the Grape family. And then we have the rest of town, which consists of Kevin Teague of Roadhouse fame, playing Ken Carver, who's married to Mary Steenburgen, playing Betty Carver. I'll let you get into how they tie into the story. And then we've got Gilbert's two friends, Tucker and Bobby, played by John C. Reilly, and an almost unrecognizable Crispin Glover. Only because it's like the least eccentric role he's ever played. He's so just like performing. It's really refreshing to see.
It's not, you're like Crispin Glover shtick.
It's just
he's just a supporting character.
He's not play this role.
Not trying to dominate the scenes, and
and so that's it for the cast. I mean, there's wait, I forgot Juliette Lewis as Becky. I skipped over Becky. Juliette Lewis and her grandma is the we broke down an Iowa love interest.
I will say, just as far as the characters go, there's two other like sort of characters whose presences are felt but we don't see, and that would be the dad who committed suicide 17 years prior. And there's a brother as well who just up and left. Larry.
And he's not mentioned at all. And I'm still trying to work out the math of how dad committed suicide 17 years ago, yet has a 15-year-old daughter.
That was one of my haws.
But
don't overthink it.
That's why Ellen is also. That's probably why she's so angry. She doesn't understand her existence either.
She was baking for 18 months.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, we don't know the size of Bonnie Grape when Ellen was birthed, so maybe it was. No, I'm going to be nice. Never mind. I'm not going to be typical jerk me. So. All right, so
we'll get into the plots.
Tell us, what plot?
Well, I mean, we mentioned this already. I mean, the whole point is just what does Gilbert want? And like that's really like the whole thing, and it's the family dynamics along the way. This movie takes place over, I think, a couple of weeks.
I would say so.
I'd say a couple of weeks or so. Again, rural, small town Iowa.
Right. Feels longer because it's rural, small town Iowa.
Yeah, it's very small town. Yeah. So, we open on, early 20-something Gilbert, I'd say. And his, again, autistic and developmentally disabled brother, Arnie.
I think in the book, I was kind of reading some crossover. In the book, Gilbert was 24 is what I read.
I think that could check out.
But also in the book, Becky was 15. But
really,
Hollywood, that's what I read in a review. Gross. That was somebody's problem with the movie adaptation, was that from what I understood, that romance wasn't there in the book.
Okay.
But yeah.
That just I don't know if I can be able to let that go now.
Well, gross. And again, like knowing that relationship, again, the way I understood it, wasn't there in the book. Like that's just Hollywood. Like, well, let's age her up.
And
so we have a love interest. And so like I'm not as grossed out by that because it's not like it's straight from the page. So that's what I read anyway. I didn't read the book, but that's what I read. It was someone was like, I've read the book 4 times and I've seen. And I'm like, okay, go for it. So anyway, I'm done. You keep going.
So Arnie and Gilbert are waiting along the side of the road. Every year there's a group of like RVs and like trailers that come through.
Silver Streams.
Yes. For the Airstreamer Club. On their annual like trek across America kind of thing. And they always pass through this little town of Endora, Iowa. And Arnie is always very excited at the vehicles, like very excited. And so we open, like, Gilbert's narrating that he's had to keep up with the house. He mentions he kind of runs through the family really quick. Dad's gone. The only mention of Larry is right there at the beginning. Larry got away. And Mama, who's very obese, has not left the home in 7 years due to her condition and her needs. Gilbert works at Lamsom's Grocery, local grocery store, literal mom and pop grocery store there in town, which is dying due to the new Foodland, which is out there on the edge of town near the highway.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a Walmart-esque,
Yeah.
place.
Meyer, Hy-Vee, Jewel kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We see Gilbert make a food delivery to lonely housewife Betty, who he is having an affair with. Betty, again, played by Mary Steenburgen. I've always had a thing for Mary Steenburgen.
She's pretty hot in this movie.
Yeah, I've always.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to her to lean it, because I've always, again, agree. I've always found Mary Steenburgen just very pretty and very attractive,
Yes.
And just very in simple ways.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I've never viewed Mary Steenburgen as like sexy.
No.
But
no,
she leaned into it. She leaned into it in this one. Like, you want to see it? Okay, here it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put Andie MacDowell kind of in that same category of.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
of just attractive, just very pretty, but not, just, I won't say girl next door-ish, but just, safe.
Mm-hmm. And so Gilbert and Betty are almost caught by Betty's husband, Ken, who is the club owner from Roadhouse.
Yeah.
He's the local insurance dealer in town. And so that's his bit. Arnie, as Gilbert is inside Betty's home with her, Arnie is waiting in the truck, and over his shoulder, we see the town water tower in the background, like literally looming large over Arnie. So Arnie has this infatuation with climbing the water tower. That's, he's, it's just something that he desires to do. It's something he enjoys. And
right.
It's always kind of like right there in the back of his mind. Like, I got to go climb the water tower. And so as Gilbert is inside with Betty, Gilbert goes to climb the water tower. We see the police respond. The whole town is there, of course, as well as John C. Reilly's Tucker.
I love
is
Tucker.
There. I know. Well, I love John C. Reilly.
I just love John C. Reilly.
Yeah, it's John C. Reilly. or was it Chest Rockwell?
Chest Rockwell. Yeah.
We see that Becky and Grandma are stuck in town due to their car just happened to break down as they're driving through. Again, they're part of the big Airstreamers Club chain. Becky gleefully watches as Gilbert kind of playfully talks Arnie down. So he's got a megaphone there with the police and, match in the gas tank, boom, boom.
Right.
And so Gilbert knows how to communicate with Arnie, and he's able to talk him down. The police are very annoyed by this. This has happened multiple times.
Yeah, and every time he promises it won't happen again.
It won't happen again. Yeah, and then, after Gilbert is able to talk Arnie down, he has Arnie repeat, we're not going to do this again. So, nope, not going to do it. And then as they're walking away, he's like, but I want to go back and climb.
Right.
he obsesses over it. He just can't let it go. So during a family meal, we learn that, Gilbert is very ashamed and resentful of his mother. There's also a conversation with Tucker as well. So you really get to know Gilbert's feelings. He's resentful of his mother. He's very annoyed by his demanding sisters. And it's very weary to keep up with Arnie and Arnie's needs.
Right.
And so, while he's back at work, he's sweeping, and Betty comes up and kind of moves like the cereal boxes out of the way.
It's so funny.
I'm gonna need a delivery later. And you get the impression that Gilbert is, not annoyed, but Gilbert he's getting nervous about this.
Yeah, I detected that the first delivery, and
he's getting avoidant about it.
There's no satisfaction in it for him. It's past the fun stage.
Yeah, it's part of the routine. He's really only doing it now just to kind of keep Betty quiet, I guess.
Right. And to keep a customer at the grocery store.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Betty really enjoys it because, again, she's this lonely housewife. She's got two kind of bratty boys and a
cat and mouse for her.
And kind of this distant husband. You get the idea. There's some immaturity to Betty too. Like you kind of see some of that come out as well. Becky rides her bike to the store. She's just kind of scoping out town. She's got nothing else to do. She's stuck there. So she's kind of looking around, and so Gilbert and Arnie end up delivering groceries to her and her grandmother. She can't bring them all back on her bicycle, so they put them in their truck, and so they go out and meet Becky and Grandma. So back at home again during dinner, Arnie kind of gets wound up because their father comes up in conversation, and he just starts kind of screaming over and over and laughing, "Dad's dead, Dad's dead," which really, really upsets their mother.
Right.
Her, throughout the movie, they mention a couple of times that, she's never always been that way. She,
She used to be quite beautiful. Like they play into that a lot.
Yeah.
Like old photos of her around the house, and
yeah. And just the combination of the husband's death, the brother leaving, Larry leaving, and then just Arnie's needs.
Right.
That, she filled that void with food consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And that was her way of coping. And it's gotten to the point that this is how she identifies herself, and she feels like she can't do anything about it. She's stuck, literally and figuratively. She's stuck.
Yeah.
And, when Arnie starts repeating that really sets her off. The floor is literally buckling underneath her as well. Yeah. So, the dad built the home. Tucker is kind of the local handyman as well. Mm-hmm. And like, he's down in the basement with Gilbert later, and he's like, these like floor slats, why are they so far apart? And
it's just not code. And
and so they end up just bracing the floor to make sure that it's stable enough, for Bonnie and for the mother. At the next day at the local diner, Tucker and Bobby are giving Gilbert a hard time. Like they know about this affair with Betty, so this is kind of out there, well beyond Gilbert at this point. We see Ellen being very rough with Arnie, so it's kind of like Ellen's turn, to watch Arnie, and again, Ellen's 15 years old, and she wants to be a 15-year-old girl, and
right.
And so she's kind of tackled Arnie and is kind of slapping him around a little bit, and because he's trying to climb the water tower again, and so Amy shows up and scolds Gilbert because he was avoiding the conversation by going to see Becky, and so like this dynamic is there now that Becky is in the picture. Gilbert is very kind of fascinated with her. Becky is this kind of this kind of free spirit.
Oh yeah, the freest.
Yeah.
And chose to come into town, is making do in town while she's there, and she'll be leaving. And it's just that, aside from the personality, it's pure just fantasy for Gilbert of like, I am shackled to this town, and you are just floating by, and I want what you have.
Yeah. Well, and even like, Becky and Grandma, they're just kind of touring the country too, that's just kind of taking life as it comes. And, Becky and Grandma don't have the responsibilities that Gilbert does either. No. And Gilbert's envious of that. And I mean, and in context, I don't blame him.
No, I don't either.
And so, Betty sees Gilbert getting ice cream with Becky. Gilbert sees Betty, and he intentionally kind of pulls Becky off to the side because he sees Betty's in the drive-through line with the kids. And Becky's talking about, again, this is typical Becky right here. She's talking about like looks and beauty don't matter, it's what you do that matters.
She's the sea turtle in Finding Nemo is pretty much.
We get the like Gilbert looking at the sunset with Becky thing, and looking at the clouds, look at the sky. Everything has meaning. That again, that's the Becky character.
That's Lasse Hallström is what it is.
And so Gilbert is spending all this time with Becky. He has to rush home to give Arnie his bath, and he kind of rushes through it, and you get the idea that they have a routine. This is how Gilbert is the one who bathes Arnie, and he has a routine with Arnie, and the monkey wrench of Becky is there, and Gilbert wants to go back and spend more time with Becky, and so he just tells Gilbert, you're big enough now, you're almost 18, your towel is there, your robe is over there, finish up, dry off, put on your robe. Arnie tells him, yep, got it, I'm a big boy, I got it. And so Gilbert leaves to go back with Becky. Basically spends the whole night with her. Comes back the next he awakens the next morning. He had gotten back late, and so he kind of wakes up the next morning, goes in to use the restroom. Arnie is still in the bathtub, and he's been there for probably about 12 hours, and he's cold and shivering, and that the routine wasn't there, and so he just kind of froze up.
And neither were the two sisters that live in that home and apparently didn't have to use the bathroom in that 12-hour span.
Yep. So
this didn't come across as a multi-bathroom home.
Yeah, it's just an old farmhouse.
I had it as a potential hum, but that was one that was like, nobody checked on Arnie. Like, nobody noticed Gilbert was gone.
I do get the impression that the sisters put a lot of Arnie's responsibility on Gilbert.
They do. Yeah, I could see that. But
again, doesn't excuse anything, but it could be some degree of explanation.
But it's one of those things that, like, Arnie's the kind of person when he's not around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the absence of Arnie speaks loudly.
Yes. And so when you had a real quiet evening and morning, I got up this morning, but I really don't have to pee. Like, it's those, like, I mean, I get it. And I'm obviously,
it's a movie.
I know, but it was like nobody noticed Arnie wasn't around.
Yeah. Yeah, but so he'd been in the bathtub for 12 hours and he's just shivering and just tells Gilbert no more baths. So now he's got a phobia of baths because of this experience. So, after getting cleaned up, Gilbert goes back to work. He makes a grocery delivery to a very sexily clad Betty.
Yeah.
She sends kids go outside.
Like as soon as he pulls in the drive.
Yeah, and she's happy to see Gilbert. Like Gilbert is her escape.
It's just what I was going to say.
Yeah, and in the meantime, her husband Ken had been kind of pestering Gilbert. Hey, I need you to give me a call. I got something I want to talk to you about.
Well, it's because when he left after the first delivery, that he thought he had got himself cleaned up, but he had like whipped cream or something on his mouth to where the dad realized there's something going on here. So, and Gilbert just once you stop by,
he knows.
Yeah. Once you stop by my office, I want to talk to you. And Gilbert's like, I'm going to die. Like,
and so, Betty kind of tricks Gilbert into like making a call to Ken's office.
Yeah.
And while Gilbert is on the phone with her husband, she starts unzipping his pants and other things ensue.
Yes.
While Gilbert is talking on the phone to her husband.
Yeah.
Which, again, Betty is looking for thrills in her life, and this is not the right or appropriate way to do it, but again, that's what she's trying to get at here. You also get the sense that there's a lot of resentment towards Ken as well. Like she resents Ken. This is just kind of like how their relationship and family have evolved. So Gilbert ends up going down to Ken's office, and he's very nervous when he walks in, and Ken's like, we need to talk about your health and life insurance.
Yeah, you saw this coming a mile away. Like, there was no real threat here.
No.
Come on, he can't handle his own. He's got to hire a bouncer to run his bar. Like, he wasn't going to handle Gilbert on his own.
Be nice.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is a pirate he's talking to. This is a man with scissors for hands.
Yeah, this is a man who got eaten by a bed.
It's like, what are you really gonna go toe to toe with Gilbert here in the future he's got ahead of him?
This is a man with a secret window.
That's true. This is a man with a chocolate factory in his future.
With a 9th gate.
Right. He owns 9 gates.
9 gates. You're not going to keep up with him.
Right. He investigates people that have been turned into a walrus. And you think you're going to talk to him about marital affairs? No.
He's buddies with the Lone Ranger.
That's true. Oh, come on. He's fear and loathed Las Vegas.
Not just one. Both.
No. Yes.
Both.
He's been there enough to fear and loathe it. This is John Depp you're talking to.
Jonathan Depp.
Right.
At what point do you stop going by Johnny? because he's in his 60s now, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, Johnny Carson never stopped.
That's true, but that's Johnny Carson.
Well, this is Johnny Depp.
Well, it's also like Scottie Pippen. Like,
yeah. Like,
at what point is it just Scott?
Or even go by your full name, Scotland. Like
Scottathan.
Scotland Pippen.
Scotland Pippen.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like anyone named Craig, like just go by Craigery. You know that's your name.
Craigland.
But no, I'm with you. Like whenever you're catching like an Eddie or a Frankie, like, come on, grow up.
I had a great pun that I'm really proud of that I did the other day. So our pastor's name is Scott, and he's going on sabbatical this summer, and so he's going to Scotland for part of his sabbatical.
Fair enough.
And so I told Patreon subscriber Melissa L, hey, tell Scott that I'm also going on sabbatical to Curtis Land.
That's right.
Because that's where you go on sabbatical. He's going to Scotland. I'm going to go to Curtis Land.
I go to the land of Oz.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to the Emerald City.
Pat myself on the shoulder for that one. So, Ken is giving.
Yeah, he's talking insurance.
Talking about insurance. You got to get insurance. Think about your family. Think about your mom. Think about Arnie. And during this conversation, Betty calls Ken, frantic call, and of course, Gilbert, can you give me a ride home? Betty needs something.
Betty's got the car.
Yeah, and so Gilbert gives Ken a ride back home, and there's smoke pouring out of the kitchen. She's just sitting on the stoop with her head in her hands. The cookies were burning. And again, Betty basically is just kind of losing it. Because Gilbert had left to go talk to Ken, and she was really excited, particularly excited for Gilbert on this day. The kids are running around. They've been pestering their family for a pool, and dad got him a kiddie pool, and so they're upset about that.
I would have liked to seen the sequel to this movie, What's Eating Betty Carver? It's the whole series of eating movies by Hasse Lallström. Hasse Hallström, whatever his name is.
I like Hasse Lallström.
Hasse Lallström.
Hasse Lallström.
It's a bizarro world of film.
That's actually Swedish for Will Smith.
That's true. It's the other bad boy.
It's the other bad boy, yeah. Hasse Lallström.
Do you think Ken is frostbitten? Do you think he has frostbitten hands? I asked this because when he gets home, smoke is, like you said, billowing out of the house. Mm-hmm. He goes in and he pulls the cookies out of the oven, the cookies that have been in there way too long. And then, with no spatula, grabs a cookie off the tray and just starts eating it. These cookies are fine. They're fine. Kids, come get a cookie. Like, these cookies literally have been burning. Yeah, they're beyond cooked. They're burning.
It gives new meaning to hot out of the oven.
Yes, the only
scorched out of the oven.
Either he has silicone fingers or frostbite, because again, no utensil to remove cookie from pan. He just starts eating them up.
Just grab. Those are calluses. Maybe it's happened so many times he's developed calluses.
What have I told you about baking, Betty? You're not Betty Crocker. You're Betty Carver.
You're Betty Carver.
Right. Stick to carving meats.
Yes, stick to smoking meats, not baking cookies.
Your roast beef is amazing, but stay away from the cookies.
No cookies, no breads,
right?
No muffins. No,
that's right. Just stay away from them.
Just meat is good. That's your lane.
It's like Arby's in this place.
Yes. Betty Carver's got the meats. 5 for 5.
That's true. That's right. Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah, he just grabbed that cookie off the pan.
Look, I'm eating it. It's good, right?
I love my wife so much. I will suffer burns for you.
And so Ken's over, kind of. He's just laying into the kids because they're. Because the kids aren't being nice, I bought you a pool. Get in there.
Yeah, he's going way overboard with it, very extreme.
Yeah, so he's literally picking up his boys and putting you're going to play in this pool right now. I just got this for you. So while all that's happening in the background,
and by the way, this is like a kiddie pool.
Yeah, it's just a plastic kiddie pool.
Yeah.
So as that's happening, Gilbert is just watching from his truck this whole time, and so Betty walks over, and she's got I don't know if it's it's just like her bra and then like a mesh shirt over it. Again, this is like a house mother
It
in
was
Iowa.
her football jersey.
Is that a penny?
Yeah. She's wearing a penny. Practice penny.
Yeah. She just got done at rugby practice. That's what it was.
It's Iowa. They don't play rugby in Iowa.
Yeah. And so Betty just walks over and tells Gilbert, like, I could have had any guy, Gilbert. I chose you because I knew you'd never leave.
Mm-hmm.
That right there, I took that one down in bold. Yeah. I picked you because I knew you would never leave. And that really hits with Gilbert.
Yeah.
It's not because there was something particularly special about Gilbert. It's that she knew he was a constant.
Yeah.
She knew he wasn't going anywhere, literally or figuratively. That she had kind of cornered him there.
Yeah. Even before knowing him, just that's what he's got written all over him is you're a lifer.
Yeah. Oh, and if you know anything about his family, you know that even if he wanted to leave,
he couldn't go.
Yeah. So that night at home, Arnie's refusing to take a bath because of what happened. Ellen comes home and says, Ken Carver's dead. So again, this is that same night after this big thing that happened at the Carver residence. So the next day at the diner, Gilbert's there with Tucker and Bobby, and Bobby's explaining Ken had a heart attack because Bobby works for the coroner's office.
Yeah, drives a hearse around town.
Yeah, he had a heart attack and fell face first into the pool, into the kiddie pool. So he literally drowned in like a couple inches of water.
Right.
Bobby and Tucker speculate that Betty killed him for the insurance money. So yeah. Gilbert and Arnie go to hang out with Becky again. Becky goads Gilbert into swimming with her, so he's able to kind of work past his fear of water with Becky.
Gilbert didn't
Gilbert. Yeah, no, as I said that out loud, it's like, nope, that's wrong. So Becky kind of goads Gilbert into swimming with her.
She's trying to get Arnie.
Arnie's climbing a tree, but he's refusing again. That's right. Yeah, I just put two scenes together in my head. Yeah. So she finally, I guess, gets Gilbert to let his guard down a little bit because Gilbert initially doesn't want to go in, but then he just goes in fully clothed just to kind of be playful. And Becky gets in, let his guard down, have a little bit of fun.
Well, he went in angry, and then because he was really resisting it, and she just kept
see splash, splash, splash.
He did. He walked right up to her and then splashed her in the face, and then left her in the lake for 12 hours.
For 12 hours, yeah. Came back the next day. She's still
it's
in
the
there.
Gilbert Grape effect.
That's what happens. So Becky asks Gilbert, "What do you want?"
Yeah, what's eating you, Gilbert?
What's eating at you, Gilbert Grape?
Right.
He says, and he answers like he gives a literal answer. Like, I want a new house for the family. I want aerobics classes for Mama. I want Ellen to grow up, and I want a new brain for Arnie. And then Becky asks, "But what do you want?"
Right.
And he just answers, "To be a good person." Okay. Then they realize Arnie's not there, so Arnie has eloped again. So again, Arnie has this habit of doing that, and so they see police cars driving by again, and of course he's back at the water tower.
He's so quick.
He is.
Like, Gilbert wasn't in the water with Becky that long, and Arnie's like Sonic the Hedgehog out of here. Like, that water tower, it's like the Eiffel Tower in Paris. It's always out every window. You could see it from anywhere.
It's looming. And I will say that I mentioned it earlier, but like one of those opening scenes when Gilbert is at Betty's house and he has Arnie wait in the car, is that you literally see, they do a couple different shots of Arnie outside the truck and then sitting in the truck, and the water tower is literally over his shoulder the whole time.
Yeah.
Just looming in the background.
Right.
So it's that literal looming in his mind.
Yeah, it's a constant.
Yeah.
A visible constant for us because it's a mental constant for Arnie.
Yeah. And so he's there, and by the time Gilbert gets there, they're taking him down in a cherry picker, and the police arrest Arnie.
Yeah.
Yes, the police arrest Arnie.
Yeah.
So at home, Bonnie tells Amy, "Get my coat."
Yeah.
As she stands up.
Mama's had enough.
We're going to get Arnie. So for the first time in 7 years, Bonnie leaves the house, goes to the police station. There's kids, because this is right in the middle of town. This is a classic town square, with the police station and the courthouse right in the middle. And there's kids gawking at her.
Like the whole town shows up. Like, and I get it. She's been, basically in hiding for 7 years, but it's like adults and children alike.
It's again, dignity is a big theme in this movie. And so she goes into the police station and she's just slamming her hand on the counter. Give me my son.
Yeah.
Well, we've got
calling out the sheriff by name,
by first name. Yeah. Jerry, give me my son.
Right.
And we've got paperwork. Give me my son.
Yeah.
So she leaves with him. They relent.
It's all it takes, guys.
Yeah.
That's a life lesson. If you yell at the police enough, they'll give you what you want.
Yeah. If you demonstrate, slam your hand on things.
First name.
Yell at them by first name.
Keep them on a first name basis.
Yeah.
Like really strip that like
the authority out. Yeah.
Strip the job from them and just hit them on a human level. All their names are Jerry.
Yeah.
Like
just call them Jerry. They'll all respond.
Yeah. It's a very standard first name for a police officer. Just Jerry.
Yeah.
Give me back my son. It worked for Mel Gibson.
Give me back my son.
It worked. He got his son.
Ransom. Yeah.
Yeah. Like and that came out after this. I think he was inspired by Mama Grape.
that's it's a spiritual sequel, as they say.
and that's where the movie developed from. Is he yelled, "Give me back my son," and when they wouldn't, because they're not police officers, he then had to go into action. Yeah. Had the cops kidnapped Mel Gibson's son, they would have given him back because he yelled at him.
Well, and again, this got cut from the trailer. It's in the feature length film, but the full line is "Give me back my son, Jerry."
Right. Mel Gibson was cut from this movie as well.
Yeah, he had a sizable role.
Yeah, not quite Mama June or Mama Grape, but yes. So.
Yep.
He was the vocal stunt double for the yelling. He's like, I got this. I got this.
He was the RV.
Give me back my son.
Give me back my son. He was actually her vocal coach.
That's true. Yeah. Because this was her film debut, so we're going to send you to vocal coach Mel Gibson. Another like dual career, like a Martin Lawrence, that the art galleries and the acting, that,
or a Hasse Lalstrom,
that does like Johnny Depp theme romances, but also launched the career of Martin Lawrence. So 6 degrees of Hasse Lalstrom.
Very, very diverse, eclectic career of Lasse Hallstrom.
You can trace it all back to him. He's the seed of Hollywood.
He is. So she gets Arnie back back at Becky's again. Gilbert's back at Becky and Grandma's, and Becky tells Gilbert, like, because he had just told her what happened, and Becky's like, "Your mother is so brave. I want to meet her." Yeah. And then they kiss for the first time
after they've hugged about 48 times in this movie.
Lots of hugging.
I can't tell if Gilbert thought every time she came in for a hug she was coming in for a kiss. But she loves to hug. She's a hugger.
A lot of bunt singles in this movie.
Swinging hard, but you just a little dribbler down the first baseline.
Yeah, it's like you swing, but like it's further inside, and you think it kind of hits off the handle, and it just trickles to the third baseman, and you beat the throw out.
Yeah, a hug's a hug.
You get on base.
In Iowa, it's third base though.
That's true. In Iowa, it's a standing triple.
It's an Iowegian triple.
Iowegian.
I mean, have you hugged Juliette Lewis in Iowa?
I mean, only a couple of times. But...
Right. Well, then you've had an Iowegian triple.
Iowegian triple. Hugging Juliette Lewis in Iowa. Oh my God, I'm taking that down. Iowegian. Yeah. So, anyways, this Burger Barn location is going into town. And it's prefabricated, so like the whole store is a prefab building, so it's like the whole thing is just coming in on a flatbed. And Arnie sees this, and right in the middle of the burial ceremony, he starts happily screaming and kind of running around, much to the chagrin of Betty and the family.
Right.
I will say though, it cuts to Tucker, because Tucker earlier in the movie he was very excited, like he wants to be a burger man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
Very
like,
excited.
yeah, like they use the special oil when they make the fries, and
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable.
yeah, and so it cuts to him in the middle of this chaos, and like and kind of the shame and the frustration everybody else is feeling, and you see Tucker, and he's kind of got his chin up and his
Yeah,
chest puffed out,
yeah,
like, yep, and that's gonna be me. Yeah.
yeah. That's
Uh,
why. Why were there so many people at this funeral?
well, again, depending on what part of town you're in, there's either 50 residents or 50,000
I mean,
residents in this community.
I understand that maybe like his insurance clients may, those, but
Sure.
it's like the outside of mom, the entire Grape family was there.
You know,
I mean, it's like I don't know. It's just odd. I
I
had that
know.
as a potential, was
Sure.
why were so many random people at this funeral?
He did everybody's insurance.
I guess.
Yeah. So a little while later, you get the impression just like later that afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert's back working at the grocery store. Betty stops by still in her black dress that she wore to the burial. Tells Gilbert, I'm moving. Me and the boys, we're moving to St. Louis. Um, she says, "I do and don't miss my husband." And then she even says, and I took this down as a quote here too: "Poor Gilbert, cooped up, taking care of everybody else, forgetting all about you." Um, she kisses Gilbert goodbye. And
Make sure Becky sees it.
as Becky enters, and
Yeah.
then she just turns to Becky and says, "He's all yours."
Right.
We cut to the Burger Barn grand opening, which we talked about a little bit
Yeah.
pre-show.
Yeah.
The school marching band is there, like the whole town is there.
Yes.
You get the impression the whole county is there. This
Oh
is a
yeah.
big
It's a
deal.
big deal.
Tucker's very excited.
Yeah.
Bobby pulls up in the hearse, and Tucker's like, "What are you doing?"
Like you're ruining everything. You're ruining the vibe.
Becky's there too. She tells Gilbert, "Grandma fixed the truck. We're leaving tomorrow," which of course,
Yeah.
puts Gilbert in a dour mood. And tomorrow, in reference to where they're at in the movie, is also Arnie's birthday and his birthday party.
Yes.
So back at home, Arnie's running from Gilbert, avoiding a bath. He runs into Amy, who had just baked a big birthday cake for the party the next day, of course, and she drops it.
Yeah.
So Gilbert goes to Foodland. It's like it's his first ever trip over to Foodland.
Needs it quick.
Yeah, need a birthday cake. So he goes and gets another birthday cake from Foodland, brings it home, and within minutes of them putting it in the fridge, Arnie had gone into the fridge and dug his fingers into the second cake and ruined that one as well.
We do get like a weird, like, as Gilbert's leaving Foodland with the cake, his boss at Lamson's he just pulls up in front of Foodland just to like take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the David in this David and Goliath story, and he's he's not coming to shop. He's just coming to look out the window of what the demise looks like. Look, and then pans over, and there's Gilbert holding the cake.
There's Gilbert with a big Foodland sign on the side of it. Yep.
And it's never mentioned again.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
So Gilbert, after he just got the news that Becky's leaving. He had this conversation with Betty earlier in the day. Attended a funeral and a burial.
Been a big day.
Arnie has ruined 2 cakes. Everybody's frustrated and upset and kind of at their wits' end. Gilbert's trying to bathe Arnie's, chasing him around, forces him in the bathtub, and ends up actually hitting him several times. Mm-hmm. Really, literally and figuratively rough part of the movie to watch. Yes. Gilbert immediately realizes what he's done and just angry at himself, ashamed at himself, just drives away. Arnie ends up running away. So he elopes again, and he ends up at Becky. So he knows the way to where Becky and her grandma are at. And so Arnie ends up there. So the sisters are driving around looking for Arnie. Gilbert's out looking for Arnie. Gilbert ends up finding Arnie first at Becky's. He doesn't reveal himself. He doesn't announce himself. So he's just watching Arnie with Becky. This is where I got confused earlier. So despite Arnie's fear of bathing and fear of water at this point, Becky, just because she's such a kind, open person and also doesn't represent these fears that Arnie has right now, she ends up getting him into the pond right by where they're at.
by Arnie jumping out of the tree he's hiding in.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't walk into the pond. He literally like falls out of the tree into the water.
Yeah.
But he's
And
in.
yeah, and they're having a good time.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're enjoying each other. And so as again, before Gilbert reveals he's there, just coincidentally, Amy and Ellen drive by and see Arnie there with Becky, and they take Arnie home. As Becky's walking back, she sees Gilbert, and they end up talking, and
because it's the sunniest night in Iowa. No matter where Gilbert goes, he's well lit.
Yeah, it is Johnny Depp.
So. It is Johnny Depp. Yeah.
And so they end up talking, and Gilbert tells Becky something very similar that he had said earlier in the movie, and he just you don't hurt Arnie, you just don't do that. Because earlier in the film, Gilbert was talking to Arnie and said, if anyone ever hits you, if anyone ever harms you, you tell me. And of course, the symmetry here is that Gilbert is the one who ended up doing it.
Right.
So Gilbert laments to Becky about Mama's descent after, his father's suicide, and they end up making out, and they literally sleep together, wake up fully clothed.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Arnie's very busy birthday party. You get the idea. The whole town is here too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is cool, but also kind of surprising because there's really been nothing up to this point that shows us that the town is overly accepting of the grapes.
Yeah.
But then
they're all there.
Yeah. To see them, these young kids, which of course are probably at a closer cognitive level to where Arnie is, Arnie interacting with these kids at his party. Yeah. It's like, it's cool that they did come out and support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Considering he was just arrested like 2 days ago.
Exactly. So the sisters initially give Gilbert the cold shoulder, but then Arnie sees Gilbert and he hides in a tree, and he starts playing the kind of where's Arnie game. Mm-hmm. So where Arnie kind of playfully hides in a tree, and Amy and Gilbert kind of play along with it, and which indicates that Arnie in his own way is forgiven Gilbert.
Right.
Yeah, that he's back to normal. He's back to playing with them. He's back to kind of doing their routine shtick. Tucker's there, tells Gilbert, you might want to take a look at the house's foundation. It's failing.
Yeah. You see this slant here in the corner of the porch?
Yeah. Tucker's a bright guy.
He is a bright guy.
Yeah. Bonnie confronts Gilbert, asks, like, are you ashamed of me? And he tells her he's not, despite what we've kind of heard him talk about before. Right. And she just says, like, I never wanted to be like this. And they end up kind of hugging it out. Becky and Grandma then pull up because, again, they're ready to go, but they stop by the party first. And, Gilbert tells Bonnie, I want something. And again, like the whole movie, we've been seeing like people, especially Becky and Betty, have been challenging Gilbert. Well, what do you want?
Right.
And so he finally tells Mom, I want something. I want to introduce Becky to you. And Bonnie, of course, is initially resistant. We see, how other people have been treating her.
Right.
Up to this point, and the indignity that she's been facing. And then, Gilbert is clearly, but politely, conscientiously tells her, I want this. And so she relents, and Becky comes in, and they end up talking. And the first thing Bonnie says to Becky is, I haven't always been like this. And Becky just says, well, I haven't always been like this.
Right.
So Becky gets it.
I once was in Mexico with my dad and my brother, and we fought vampires.
We fought vampires.
Like,
I made it out of there with George Clooney.
I was different then.
Yeah. I escaped from Bobby De Niro.
That's true. I was different then.
Uh-huh.
I once over decorated my house for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
Like it's okay. We're all different.
It happens, yeah. And so as Becky and her grandmother leave, Arnie is just as excited when their RV kind of pulls out of town as to when, the RVs pull in the beginning. Back inside after the party, Bonnie says, I'm going to go upstairs because she never leaves the living room.
Right.
And so I'm going to go upstairs and sleep in my bed, which again is for the first time in years. And so she struggles, but she makes it up the stairs and lies down, and Gilbert's there, and Bonnie tells Gilbert, you're my knight in shimmering armor. And Gilbert's like, I think you meant shining armor. She's like, no, you shimmer and you glow, which I thought was just a really sweet thing. really
Which
sweet
also
moment.
that also then retroactively explains why he's always well lit.
Yes,
at
why
night.
he's all it's just it's his natural
Yeah,
aura that he
yeah.
gives off.
He's like Bruce Leroy.
He's got the glow.
He's got it.
He's got the glow.
Show enough.
A lot of phosphorus.
It's true. He's luminescent.
He's
Gilbert Grape.
phosphorescent.
What's lighting Gilbert Grape?
What that's
That's what Halsey Lallstrom says.
he says all the time.
Yeah. He hollers out in the evening scenes, guys. What's lighting Gilbert Grape? Sorry, boss.
But it's meant rhetorically.
Yes, yeah. It's because he's shimmering.
He's shimmering. So later, Arnie goes upstairs to see Mama, and he goes to wake her up, but she's not responding. So right. Bonnie's passed away, and Arnie's the first one that finds her. Coroner's office tells them they're going to need a crane to remove her.
Yeah, there's a really terrible one line from the National Guard. Like when the cops get into the car, when the cops get into the car and somebody comes over radio and says, we're going to need the whole National Guard to get her out of there. And even the cops I'm sorry you heard that. Which just shows this is how you guys speak of your residents in town.
Yeah.
You're just sorry that he heard it. You're not sorry it was said.
Yeah. So the kids are like, people are going to come. They're going to come and they're going to gawk and they're going to laugh. And she doesn't deserve that. And so they end up, the four kids, Amy, Ellen, Gilbert, and Arnie, they end up moving all of the belongings, all the furniture out of the house. And they set it on fire. The whole home basically becomes like a funeral pyre.
Right.
In my movie marriage, I was thinking of adding a movie that had like a pyre sequence, like a Return of the Jedi, or but it's so
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, so they just burned the whole house.
Grum.
The four kids just stood outside the burning home, just chanting Crumb.
2 arms in the air, chanting Crumb.
Crumb.
To hell with you.
And then they lopped off James Earl Jones's head.
Yeah, a demon witch invited them in for the evening.
So then we cut to 1 year later. Gilbert and Arnie are on the side of the road. So again, we with symmetry come back to kind of where the movie started. We get a voiceover again from Gilbert. It's 1 year later. Amy's got a job as a baker in Des Moines. Ellen is moving with her, and she's excited to transfer there. Arnie's almost 19. Mm-hmm. And we see the RVs and come back in, and they happily climb in with Becky and her grandmother. And Gilbert tells Arnie, we can go anywhere we want.
We've stood by the road for a full year.
For a full calendar year.
Waiting for our ride.
So Gilbert and Becky kiss. They keep driving.
Yeah, she just leaps over the seat to get to him in the back.
She does.
But not in a gross way, but
yeah, she's just so happy to see him.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's 1993's What's Eating Gilbert Grape. A good movie, I'll say.
Yeah. It was. It was fine.
Yeah. And we were talking before. I think you compared it to like a good meatloaf.
Yeah, just it's a hearty meal. It's probably not your favorite, but not the worst thing you've ever eaten.
Yeah.
You feel satisfied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Probably, it's not one that I'm going to be like, you know what, I'm in the mood to watch What's Eating Gilbert Grape. That's probably not going to happen very often.
Right.
But yeah, good, solid movie.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, hey, folks, every week, Oz and I give our own unique rating about the film that we've been yapping about. In this case, What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Oz, how would you rate this film?
I'm going to give this 6 of the most beautiful sunsets that ever set.
The most beautiful sunsets.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What do you...
Yep. Yeah. I'm going to go with 71 Mary Steen Virgins.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Both beautiful.
Yes. Ted Danson. What does Ted Danson have that I don't?
A bar.
Millions.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't have Patreon subscriber Melissa L. So
no, he doesn't.
He's probably saying the same thing. What is
he doesn't have a spot on this podcast,
or maybe he's
yet.
Like, what does Patreon subscriber Melissa L have that I don't? That Ted Danson doesn't.
Right.
That's probably what he's really saying.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, hey folks, every week Oz and I scour the interwebs searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well in this week's edition of Outside Insight. Hey Oz, what is your Outside Insight?
I have two from Letterboxd that coincidentally enough, I had them sort by review rating. So I was looking for highly rated reviews for this one. Okay. These two happen to be back-to-back dates a week ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like I didn't realize that until I was looking at them as we're sitting here. So on June 6th of this year, Keikami-sab says, "This is my movie. I don't care. No one loves it more than I do."
Wow. Very possessive.
The very next day, Gabby shares another 5-star review on Letterboxd. Apparently, either she's aware or unaware that this is Keikami-sab's movie. But she says, "One of my favorite films. You either really love it or you don't. Regardless, I love it wholeheartedly. Johnny and Leo does an amazing job portraying their characters so realistically and authentically. You either love it or you don't. We talk and not talk." That's what I took from this. I'm like, well, you're right. That's true. That's true for everything. You either you love it or you don't love it.
We can not talk for hours.
Right. So that was my purpose in grabbing that one. You either really love it or you don't.
I feel like Jennifer Coolidge is becoming like this generation's Dolly Parton. We're like again, we're in 2025 at the time of this recording. There's a lot of divides between people culturally, politically these days.
Yes.
There's a couple of things that I think most people agree on that brings people together. I think Dolly Parton is one, and I think Jennifer Coolidge is another.
She's grown into a role, yeah.
Yeah, she's got a bit to her.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
I personally get just a little tired of the Jennifer Coolidge bit.
I can get that.
But that's not anything on her. It's just how, it shows up in an algorithm,
Sure. But Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah. It's like when I see Dolly, I get the impression that Dolly's not putting that on. Dolly's just being Dolly.
Yeah. That's just Dolly. Yeah.
And Coolidge is a little bit more of that.
There is a bit of a shtick to it. Yeah.
There's a little performance to it.
There's a bit.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, that still didn't stop me from stopping at Legally Blonde last night when we just, after the NBA Finals game, and there just needed to be something on.
Sure.
Yeah. Turned it on and it was, oh, good. Bend and snap time. Cool.
Bend and snap.
Oh my gosh. So, but yeah, I'm with you. Like, there's Jennifer Coolidge is kind of, I like that. She's fallen into the zeitgeist of like, she's,
something harmless that brings people together.
Exactly. So, what's your outside insight?
I got two as well. The first one is a very short one. As always, both of mine are from the Internet Movie Database. First one is a 2 out of 10, left in March of 2020, by Peter DeLuca. "Nothing happens" is the subject line. Boring. Stupid. Johnny Depp kind of sucks. Kept waiting for something to happen. Then the movie ended.
Yep.
Is waiting for that action thrill ride. Bad Boys, if you will.
Exactly. Based on the rest of Hasse Lostrom's movies, I was expecting more explosions.
Yeah. There's so many explosions in the, like the shipping news.
Chocolate.
The other one I'm going to bring, also from the Internet Movie Database, left by Starlight Sung in August of 2002, was a 1 out of 10. The worst movie I have ever seen in my life. I would not advise this movie for use as anything but an instrument of torture. Ooh. May such an atrocity be never inflicted on the human race again. It was the most boring, agonizing collection of photons I have ever been forced to view. The family was required to watch it because Siskel and Ebert approved it, and it was billed as such. My family is disturbing, and hence the reason I despise anything by the pair. So I hate Siskel and Ebert.
Right. And they liked this movie, so therefore I hate this movie.
Yes. I hate my family. I hate Siskel and Ebert.
Right.
All because of Hasse Lalstrom.
Yeah. Oh, oh boy.
Mm-hmm. So those are my outside insights. Hey folks, it is that point in the show you've all been waiting for, the Let's Talk About Flicks signature segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about this week's movie, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Oz, my friend, what are your 3 goods?
My first good is Riley DiCaprio and Steenburgen performances.
Yes.
Johnny Depp was fine, but if there weren't something there to support Gilbert Grape, this movie would have been extremely boring.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly stepping in as Tucker, of course, Arnie just, DiCaprio just being that lightning in a bottle of this film, and really Steenburgen's performance of that Arrested Development of I want the old days back when I'm free and liberated as a woman. And that's not normally a role that you see out of Steenburgen very often. She's usually the happy, smiley wife, mom.
Yeah.
And so to see her lean into that, all 3 of them gave great performances.
And it still works. It like Mary Steenburgen's
sure.
like her performances, they typically come across again, there's kind of a happiness and a warmth to Mary Steenburgen. But it still works in this movie.
It does very much so.
Like she still gives the performance that's kind of, I don't know, I'm struggling to find the right words, but like it's still a Mary Steenburgen performance, and it still kind of radiates that same warmth she does, but there's also something just kind of hollow about how she portrays Betty in this movie.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
Oh yeah, I do. I think she did a great job. My second is Tucker's excitement for the Burger Barn. You get the vibe that there are, like any town, really, especially small rural towns like this, there are the people that have made it and the people that have not. And that's what your town's made of. Those are the people that own the businesses and the people that use the businesses.
Yeah.
And Riley, up to this point, has been a person who's a not. And he views the Burger Barn as an opportunity to, here's a new business coming in that I can
be somebody.
There's my elevator.
Yeah.
There's me moving up. And so he's very excited at that. And I really love how he captured that of just pure like excitement of I'm really excited for this opportunity. And my third, and
I'm gonna jump in really quick.
Yeah.
One of my possible goods, and I was gonna go with something similar, and so I'm just gonna kind of like ride your coattails and amplify your good here, is that just how good Crispin Glover and John C. Reilly were in this movie. So I would have here, I could listen to John C. Reilly talk about canola oil, French fries, and salad bars all day.
Yeah, I agree. When they're in the diner and he's talking about this new oil, canola, and I was just like, keep going. Like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to learn from whatever he's saying. And I think you're right. Like Crispin Glover, let's go ahead and lump him in there as well, as this is an actor who's typically his performances are a little
eccentric.
A little out there. And in your George McFly Friday the 13th, of just, he's the memorable kind of oddball, and he really, or even Ben, that like, or what was the movie? It wasn't Ben. He was the sequel to Ben, like the killer rat movie. Willard was the name of it. It's just like those are the roles that are kind of Crispin Glover land. Not this. And so for him to come in and just tone it down, I'm not the bellhop in Hot Tub Time Machine. I'm just a dude. And to see him actually like perform and act without having to be wacky or off or, Christopher Walken-esque. It was nice.
Almost like a caricature of himself.
It was nice to just see him come in and act and not have to be Crispin Glover.
That scene in the diner, I love that so much. And like anytime they're in the diner, there's a couple of scenes.
And it's Gilbert's completely checked out.
But it's the Crispin Glover and John C. Reilly show. Anytime they're in that diner, and when Reilly was talking about the French fries, talking about how excited he is to work at Burger Barn, it reminds me of some of the extended scenes in Boogie Nights.
Oh yeah,
where it's like him and Mark Wahlberg are like walking around the pool, and it's just John C. Reilly just going. And there's some on the like, you know, the DVD and everything, there's like extended scenes from
Mm-hmm.
some of those scenes in Boogie Nights where Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't yell cut,
Right.
and his direction to John C. Reilly was just go.
Well, because you see you see at the beginning of I'm performing this character, and then it very subtly morphs into I am this character.
Yeah.
And when he makes that travel from John C. Reilly as to just, and he does the same thing, you know, we've joked with Dr. Steve Brule, like
Mm-hmm.
he becomes that character, and everything is that character.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like you said, the, you know, the Boogie Night stuff where it's just this ignorance
Mm-hmm.
of what success is, and ideas are free, and just flowing of like, this is going to be great, and just the optimism, and it's just so much fun to watch an actor flow into that.
Yeah, just his physicality, his improvisation skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like he's John C. Reilly could be like top 3 performers.
Such a great performer.
But yeah, he's that
great.
good.
Yeah,
and to see him here early in his career,
mm-hmm.
and just making the moment of any time he's on the screen.
I mean, even like Hard 8, he's so good in that movie.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that same, like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's nailing it. And then it's like, oh, that's the same guy that was in Talladega Nights. Yeah, that's the same guy. Like, you know, he is. He's just such a great performer. I'm with you.
It's a particularly bad case of somebody being cut in half.
Exactly. I can't make you a candy out of a house out of candy.
But you won't take my monkey.
My third good, and we didn't talk about this very much as we were going. We thought it might be a through line, but my third good is the borderline comedic moments in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's all performance based. When Bobby pulls up to the Burger Barn in the hearse, and Tucker just kind of gets on him in a friendly, like, you got to get that out of here.
Yeah,
like,
you're killing the mood.
Right. And it's just that kind of, you know, even when he comes up to him, you know, and they're playing, I can't think of what song they were playing in the band, but it was some like just really goofy choice. This Magic Moment is what it was. like the high school band is playing This Magic Moment when the Burger Barn arrives on a flatbed, and the whole town is gathered around. It's like there's just so many of these little comedic, like Napoleon Dynamite-esque, that just goofy, not funny, because there's no like intended, but it's just if you get the nuances of it, and you just kind of watch it and you're like, man, that's really funny, because it's realistic enough. It's not over the top Hollywood. It's just like, yeah, that would be if I'm standing there in Endora, Iowa, and a hearse pulls up at this event like that, I would find that funny.
Yeah.
Like, just because, like, of course they did, you know, it's just so silly.
I love that scene where Gilbert's delivering the groceries to Betty, and he just walks up to her with a look of disgust on his face and goes, "Betty, here's your food."
Exactly. Yeah.
Just flings it at her and just walks away.
And it's just little things, like, you know, like when he make the dang quesadilla.
Yeah.
And
yep. Yeah. Betty tells Ken, just make yourself a gosh darn quesadilla.
But it's just, there's enough little nuanced moments that I found funny, not like laugh out loud, but just in that kind of Napoleon universe of this is that kind of quirk. And I really appreciated it.
Gilbert really won over Becky when he asked if she thought he could throw that football over the mountains.
or when Ken came home and found Gilbert with Starla.
When Amy backed over that Tupperware,
it was made of polymer. I've seen that movie a lot.
Oh God.
What are your three goods?
For my three goods, I already shared one of the potential ones, just how good Crispin Glover and John C. Reilly are. I'm going to start with just the depiction of grief and trauma on people in this movie. And it's just, again, we pick up 17 years after the father and husband committed suicide, years after, Larry just up and just leaves. And as well as just the day-to-day grind of Mama's needs, Bonnie's needs and Arnie's needs. And you see how wearying it is for Amy, Gilbert, and Ellen, and just the impact it has. And then again, Ellen just wants to be a 15-year-old, and she's bitter that she can't. And Amy is just, she has her own struggles. You don't get into her too much.
No, not too much.
But you can tell that she's kind of fraying around the edges as well. And, Gilbert is doing what he can to be patient, but again, he can never attend to his own wants.
Well, you get the vibe too. Gilbert's the only one that works.
Yeah.
So like he's the income, and even that's potentially is going away because the grocery store is barely alive.
Yeah. And so, just grief, just the grind, the stress, and how these characters are just kind of slowly fraying as a result of all of it. So that's my first good.
No, that's good, because even though they are aware they're a team, they're still a losing team, and that's it's hard to keep upbeat energy when you're on a losing team.
Yeah. My second good. And this is one I talked a lot with Patreon subscriber Melissa L about this. I went into this movie, and we talked a little bit pre-show as well. I went into this movie a little jaded. Again, it had been 25, 30 years since I'd seen it. Again, I have a daughter who's on the autism spectrum, and I went into this movie kind of wanting, and again, I shouldn't have done this, but I had a predisposition against Leo's performance. And then I watched it, and he really did a good job portraying somebody with those needs. Like he really did. Again, if this movie was made today, it probably, I'm sure the advocation would have been to cast someone on the autism spectrum, someone with a developmental disability. And that could certainly work if this movie was made today.
Right.
But I went in predisposed against Leo's performance. How dare they cast someone who doesn't have those needs? And he actually did a really damn good job about it.
Yeah, I agree.
And so like this good kind of covers two things for me. One of them is just Leo's performance and the research and dignity that he brought to the performance and the character. But also this movie hit home for me in some ways, just because Leo's performance was so spot on. And some of the ways that Arnie's needs manifest or actually have some similarities with what I see with my daughter. Some of the arm flapping and hand flapping, the eloping, when Arnie is overwhelmed, he runs, he actively avoids, he literally avoids. And that's something that we have to, that my daughter struggles with. And even just some of the excitements, Arnie gets so excited about being chased and kind of the whole, like, where's Arnie?
Yeah.
And my daughter absolutely loves that as well. And so, as this movie went on and we got to see more of how Arnie's needs manifest and, the moment to moment, it hit for me as well. So kudos to Leo's performance. He brought dignity to the role, dignity to the needs, nuance when there needed to be nuance. And again, for someone who doesn't have those needs to portray them so accurately, I tip my cap. My last good, and this was a brief moment early in the movie. Gilbert, they're sitting around eating dinner, and Gilbert calls out Ellen for chewing with her mouth open.
I know you hate that.
I hate that. And he calls her out for it. She's chewing with her mouth open. She's talking with her mouth full. Gilbert calls her out. Take that, Ellen. Take that to open mouth chewers everywhere. That's my third good.
That's fair.
So, Oz, what are your two bads?
Before I get there, I just want to point out that Leo DiCaprio was nominated for supporting actor.
Yeah.
In the Oscars that year. He was up against Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List, John Malkovich in The Line of Fire, Pete Postlethwaite in The Name of the Father, and winner Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a murderer's row.
I don't care.
I know. I bet that's probably what he said when someone said, Tommy Lee Jones, do you think that that maybe Leonardo DiCaprio's performance should have been recognized over your own? He probably just,
I don't care.
I don't care. But no, best actors that year, Tom Hanks won for Philadelphia, Daniel Day-Lewis, Lawrence Fishburne, Anthony Hopkins, and Liam Neeson.
What was Fishburne nominated for?
What's Love Got to Do with It?
Okay.
It's Ike Turner.
Nice. Okay.
So, Canadian's own Ike Turner.
As opposed to Iowegian.
Yeah, because like Ike Turner was no, that's Ike Broflovsky. That's what I'm thinking of. Wrong Ike.
Got mixed up with Ike's.
I did. So
I thought you were just maybe a big Eisenhower fan.
I used to be. Not anymore.
No.
Not after some of his recent stuff.
His earlier work was more true to him, but he got more eclectic. And
lately.
Too much instrumentation in his later work.
Lately, his stuff is really...
Just keep it simple.
Yeah,
I want to hear that. I want to hear the hits, Eisenhower. Right. I don't want to hear your new experimental jazz.
I don't need to hear your remixes. Let's just stick with what you're good at, Eisenhower.
It's like in Spinal Tap and Harry Shearer wants to do like jazz experimentation.
Yeah, no, shouldn't do that. So
no.
All right, my two bads. Juliette Lewis, more specifically Juliette Lewis's lines in this movie.
Yes,
were very just groan worthy, eye roll.
This was one of my potential bads as well.
Yeah, just her portion of the script was just. It was rough. It's like, why didn't you just cast Buddha? Like, you know, it was very, very, very much so.
Well, and it was kind of telegraphed. You know, she's the free spirit in town to rescue the stagnant Gilbert.
Yeah.
You know, and she teaches him how to live.
Yeah.
It reminds me, and I know this was made before this show, but like Dharma and Greg.
Oh yeah, and my reference would have been like Kate Hudson's Penny Lane character.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
It's like, come on, like. Just it's okay. It's okay, Gilbert.
Yeah.
Like, be a star. You're shimmery sunset.
Yeah.
It's okay. But what do you want?
I've never been a huge Family Guy fan, but I do admit there's one moment in Family Guy that I just they're depicting Dharma and Greg, and she's standing on a table.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, Dharma, get off that table.
Yeah, it's goofy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just Juliette Lewis is just her lines. I won't say her, like, she was fine. I'm not a huge Juliette Lewis fan.
I was also talking about this with the Patreon subscriber Melissa L. Juliette Lewis, she has a very specific way of line. Like, she delivers her lines in a similar way in most of her films.
Yes,
and it kind of, in the wrong film, in the wrong role, in the wrong moment, it kind of takes me out of the movie.
Oh yeah, it really sticks out.
And it did at times in this movie. It's so like whenever it was just Gilbert and Becky, I felt like the film just ground to a halt.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, I agree. Yeah, because like Johnny, it did.
The sky is limitless,
right? Let's hug.
Just lay down that butt.
That's right. Leg it out. And my second bad is obesity is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And using that as a joke in this movie, I understand you needed that side of it to go with the dignity side that they were really pushing for Mama, but just little things like the little kids like peeking in through the window and the whole town showing up at the police station. It's just those like, it's like if you want Mama Grape treated with dignity because of her obesity, then the movie needs to treat her with dignity. With her, like it I understand a kid might be looking, especially like I haven't seen this woman in 7 years, like, but the movie at times treated her like an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
It's that police station scene really bothered me when like she comes out with Arnie and there's like 35 people standing around just watching the fat lady come down the stairs. And it's like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
I take it more as an indictment on society.
I agreed, but they still did it. Like,
yeah,
you know, and I've seen very large people in public, and I've yet to see, granted, I haven't seen it in Iowa, but I've yet to see like mobs of people just standing around gawking. Like,
yeah,
you're aware, but then you just move on. Like, so that's my second bad.
Yeah,
Is
I hear
just
that.
treating obesity as a joke in this movie.
Sure.
Shallow Hal would have been one of my potential movie marriage pieces.
Yeah, I get that as well.
So, all right, what are your two bads?
My two bads are, I'll start with just sometimes I have a problem with voiceover narration in movies, and like if you're gonna do it, and that's fine. It's one way. The pro to it it's one way to avoid kind of more explicit exposition that just has to.
Extra scenes,
exposition theater,
extra additional scenes you have to shoehorn in,
and lines. Again, you see that a lot in like MCU movies, for better and for worse. There's a lot of verbal exposition, but like in this, like we get narration only in the very beginning and the very end,
right?
And like you could have put that as on-screen text. You could have shoehorned in a little exposition, but like
they weren't doing anything in those scenes he was talking over anyway. Both of them were just waiting for the Airstreamers.
Yeah, it's like was it necessary? Like,
no,
I don't know. It bothered me that like we get narration for the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes, and then that's it. Like either do it or don't.
Right, I agree.
And so my second bad is arresting someone with a developmental disability because they're like a public nuisance, like
because you're irritated with them.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to your like obesity as a joke as well. Like I understand that like every time he does it, he's literally costing resources. Like I get that. Then work with the family, support them. Don't just knee jerk to arresting someone who with those needs. Come on.
Like we've had enough. Like
it's also a great way to get sued, by the way.
Yeah.
Again, had that happened today, it was in the age of social media.
Oh Lord.
No, yeah. But yeah, come on. You don't arrest someone with a developmental disability because of how their needs manifest. He didn't harm anyone.
Right.
Yeah. So again, it's in the context of the story and I understand that, but yeah, that's a huge bad on my part. So, hey, Oz, what's your
I've got 3.
Okay. Let's hear them.
My first one is more of a joke. Is Becky really Gozer the Gozerian?
Gozer the Gozerian.
She really has that look to her, that high haircut, and so I'm like, it's Gozer the Gozerian.
Well, I mean, when she did that backflip too, like that was really something.
Yeah,
like, from one ledge of the building across the roof to the other.
She was very explicit with Arnie, like making sure he understood not to cross the streams.
Correct. Yeah.
Like hop in the pond, don't cross the stream.
You don't cross the streams.
Just come in the pond. So my second one, and this kind of goes with your second bad. Why didn't the town just put a gate over the water tower ladder?
Yeah. Yeah, there's simpler solutions to it.
Than to continue. Like if you have something that's happening over and over and over again, then find a fix.
Yeah, support the family, support the person. Yes.
And my third is apparently everyone was cool with them just burning the house down with Mama in it. like we cut to a year later, but nothing. Like this family just torched a corpse.
Yeah.
In the home.
And where have they been living? Where has Gilbert and Arnie been for a year?
The Gilbert and Arnie thing I'd questioned as well, but but yeah, those are my huns. What do you got?
Yeah, I hear that loud and clear. For my I'm going to go with false advertising. Why didn't something literally eat Gilbert Grape?
Like Gozer the Gozerian.
Yeah. I went into this movie waiting to watch Gilbert be consumed by something. Again, not something, because it's what's, not who's eating Gilbert Grape. So I wasn't expecting cannibalism, and thankfully we didn't get any. But I wanted to watch something consume Gilbert Grape.
Like a brain worm?
Yeah, exactly. Like a brain worm would have been a perfect example. So yeah, that's my false advertising. All right. Well, hey Oz, that is week 3 of 4 for questionable titles, movie titles that ask us a question.
Mm-hmm.
What cinematic masterpiece are we closing this month with?
Well, I referenced Bergman earlier as kind
Yes.
of a as kind of a spoiler for the choice.
Yes.
As a lot of Bergman movies, they get you to think.
They leave us with questions.
Mm-hmm. And so we are
as
going
good cinema does.
Right. And so while we're wrapping up questionable movies month, we're going with a Bergman inspired film. It's not a true Bergman film. No. We're going to wrap up the month with a Bergman inspired film, Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah.
I believe that line was lifted straight from the Seventh Seal.
Yeah, it was. The 12th century knight mentions it while playing chess on the beach.
Dude, where's my car?
Knight takes rook. Dude, where's my car?
Featuring Sir Sean William Scott.
Uh-huh.
And Sir Ashton Kutcher.
Yep.
Of Wales.
Of Wales. The third.
He's the Bishop of Wales, I believe. No, we're gonna wrap up the month with Dude, Where's My Car?
Yes, we are.
And so, but we will get to the question though of, is this a film next week? So as a recap, we've gone from Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
yes,
to What About Bob, to What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and we will be wrapping up with Dude, Where's My Car, while also revealing the July 2025 theme next week. So, but social media wise, you guys can find us in all your favorite spots: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. That weirded me out for a moment as I'm reading, and
a finger pokes me in the face.
Yep. It was yours though. You just went around the side.
What's poking Curtis?
Yeah. But ooh. But no, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and like I said, YouTube. You can find us in video format. We'll be back next week with Dude, Was My Car? And so for another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
We'll see you guys next week.